All right, so let's get right into it. What happens when a world champion race car driver, someone who's an absolute master of mechanical systems, has to turn all of that engineering know-how inward on the most complex, most unpredictable machine there is, his own body? This is the incredible story of Martin McKeefrey.
Now, to really get what's going on here, we first have to talk about this idea of the dry line. Imagine a racetrack getting soaked by rain. Suddenly, the perfect, fastest path is just gone. The system is totally unpredictable. The driver who wins isn't the one who stubbornly sticks to the old way, but the one who hunts for that one tiny strip of asphalt that's starting to dry. It's the ultimate metaphor for finding order in the middle of chaos.
For Martin, see, this wasn't just some cool metaphor, it was his entire philosophy. His success wasn't just about being a gifted driver, nope. It was all built on a super methodical, analytical process. It was always about the engineering.
He basically lived by this simple, but really powerful three-step loop. First, you observe. If the car's not working, you don't complain, you don't get mad, you just watch. Second, you analyze. You dig into the system and find out why it's not working. And third, you rebuild. You make a specific change, and then you try again. Observe, analyze, rebuild. That was the whole game.
Think about it. Every single lap wasn't just a lap, it was a data point. He wasn't just steering a car, he was optimizing a ridiculously complex machine in real time, constantly tweaking and refining to make it faster, more stable, more predictable.
So, how well did this whole engineering mindset actually work on the track? Well, the numbers, they tell a pretty wild story. Out of 46 career races,
He managed to snag an absolutely incredible 43 top 5 finishes. I mean, that consistency is just nuts. Which led to 27 outright wins. Just pure dominance. And all of that work, all of those laps, culminated in a Legends Car Semi-Pro World Championship. The data doesn't lie. That observe, analyze, rebuild method wasn't just some nice idea. It was a formula for winning on a global stage. After he hung up his racing helmet, Martin jumped into a totally different arena, a tech lab in the Bay Area. But what's so fascinating is that the method didn't change one bit. Whether it was shaving milliseconds off a lap time or solving a complex tech problem, that core process was exactly the same. But then came the ultimate test. A problem with no instruction manual, no diagnostic codes, and no pit crew to help out. What on earth do you do when the machine that starts to fail isn't made of metal and wires, but it's you? This was, without a doubt, the hardest race of his life. There were no practice runs to get a feel for things. It was just him, alone, trying to navigate a biological system that had suddenly gone completely off the rails. The warning lights on his own internal dashboard started flashing like crazy. Sudden headaches, a constant low hum of tinnitus, and, maybe the scariest of all, his visual processing started getting weird. It was like driving in a downpour with a foggy windshield and a misfiring engine. Now, the natural reaction is to panic, right? But he's an engineer, so he did what an engineer does. He slowed down and started looking for traction. He started applying that same trusted high-performance algorithm to this totally new, unfamiliar system, his own nervous system. It was time to become the chief engineer of his own biology. And this slide, wow, this just lays it all out perfectly. Look at the parallels here. The challenge goes from a mechanical engine misfire to a biological autonomic dysregulation. The diagnostic shifts from reading the car's telemetry to observing his own symptoms, without panic and isolating the triggers. And the goal, in both worlds, it's exactly the same. Find that dry line. Achieve system coherence. And here you can see the results. This is basically his human telemetry reading from April 1st. Energy level at 55, which is right in that stable, optimal zone. System stress all the way down to a super calm 2.0. And look at that energy reserve, 79%. The data is clear. This is a system that's no longer in crisis mode. It's stable, it's supported, and it's actively regulating itself. The diagnostic process got really specific. He figured out that issues in his neck were actually impacting blood circulation and autonomic signaling. And those weird visual problems, they were directly linked to fluctuations in blood flow to the brain. Now, here's the crucial part. These weren't signs of permanent damage. They were just signals,
data points, telling him exactly where he needed to focus the engineering effort.
So the intervention part of his plan took the form of a daily support routine. And you gotta love this, he structured it just like a pit stop for a high-performance machine. Each part of the day had a very specific job.
And the routine itself is so methodical. It kicks off with ignition in the morning, just some gentle movement. Then you've got maintenance, midday with some physical activity, cool down in the evening with wind-down protocols, and finally, garage time at night with a super strict sleep schedule. The whole point here is consistency over some intense one-off intervention. It's all about that daily rhythm.
And of course, every system needs the right kind of fuel. For him, the non-negotiables, the core inputs, were things like glycine and magnesium to support neural relaxation. Then there were the optional modulators, like CBD and L-theanine. Think of those like fine-tuning. You deploy them as needed, like adjusting the car's suspension for specific track conditions.
And so, through this incredibly meticulous process of biological engineering, a huge shift happened. The goal wasn't just about frantically trying to recover anymore. It was about achieving a state of consistent, proactive self-regulation.
This graph just captures the whole journey perfectly. Phase 1, that's his championship years. High grip, total control. Phase 2, starting around age 38, that's the wet track. You can see the system becomes chaotic and unstable. But now he's solidly in Phase 3. He's navigated the chaos, he's found that dry line, and he's achieved an 85 to 90% stabilization. It's just remarkable. And this quote, man, it just says it all, doesn't it? The system is no longer recovering, it is stabilizing and refining. That's the voice of an engineer who knows his system inside and out. It's not about fixing something broken anymore. It's about maintaining and fine-tuning a high-performance machine.
By applying the very same principles that won him a world championship to his own biology, he achieved what is maybe the most important victory of his life. The dry line has been found. And for an engineer like Martin, securing that traction, well, that's everything.